Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of this 4-inch rough country lift kit. We're going to tackle the front today, see what we can get done on it. Hoping to have it finished today. As you've seen in the last video, we did the whole rear suspension with full leaf springs. We'll be repeating the same thing on the front. There's a little more to the front end because you got a, I guess it'd be a steering arm adapter, to raise the steering. We have to lower the sway bar off the frame, relocate it with the kit that's supplied. Brake lines, dual shocks on each side. So it's got quad shocks on the front of this factory. So we'll be putting 4 brand new shocks on the front of it. I'll just walk you through step by step like I did the rear. I thank you for all the thumbs up and the positive comments on it. I'm really excited to get the front end done and see really how high it really is. Let's get at it. So as you see, I did jack it up. This time I found some used I-beams and a couple hard timbers, and I got my floor jack with a block on it as my safety. As you see, the leaf springs don't have much bow to them when there's no weight on them. But if I take you over here to the other side, where it's still on the ground, they're bowed like a dang accordion. They're going the opposite way. Just poor wore out. It's 1991. This truck's probably had a hard life, So, putting all new springs and everything on it, we'll hopefully give it another second chance of life, It'll be taken care of here, so. Especially because my wife's gonna be driving it every day, so. It'll have a lot to do with it. As you see, this is the piece right here that we'll be replacing, this U-shaped piece. This is what the steering will relocate the steering, so it'll keep the right geometry. Still advised to go ahead and have it aligned after we get this lift kit on. But we'll be removing the steering stabilizer up here. That'll be done away with, and it'll have a dual setup on it. So it'll keep these bigger tires from walking all over the road and make you more stable. And you see there's the 2 quad shocks that come factory on it. We'll be removing them and replacing them with the rough country ones. So let's get started at it. Like I said, we'll first take off the tire. Then we'll start loosening up our U-bolts, the 4 bolts you see right here on each 4 on the opposite side. And I'll show you what bolts it is and what size they are on the sway bar, because you see it connects to the top plate right there with that rod running across. That'll be your sway bar connection to the front, so I don't want to mess with that right there because the relocation's on the front. So hopefully we can just drop both of them down, leave them at the very end, go ahead and do our new leaf springs, put it back together, and then putting that sway bar relocator kit on will be the last thing to do, to bolt it up. So hopefully it'll all line up. So let me go ahead and get the tire off on the other side, and I'll get right back with you. All right, so we got the wheel off. As you see, there's gonna be 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, and 1 behind the socket. The bolt size is 15/16, using the impact socket. Kind of tight to get the gun in here, so I don't know if I can have to break them by hand or what I'm going to do. I think if I remove the shock, it might let it come down enough to use it. I'm going to try that first. But as you can tell, I already put new brake pads on the front of this truck. Not on this video. I had a shop do them because they did ahead and put the new Moog ball joints in it. I went ahead and opted for new ball joints even though it didn't need them. Running these heavier tires, and they were original, so I didn't want to chance it, and have any problems down the road. So I went ahead and just opted for it, and they recommended me change the front brake pads because they were pretty well cracked. And when a vehicle sits as long as this has, they have a tendency to, once they get some heat, they will actually separate and you lose your brakes. So I went ahead and opted to put a new set of brake pads on it. We are replacing the brake line going up to on the fronts where the extended light brake lines. The kit does opt out to have an extension put on right there at the top where the rubber line goes in to give it enough slack to move. I just opted for the steel braided ones. I just don't want to have no problems. I mean, you're talking 10 bucks. I think it's 10 or 15 bucks. It wasn't much for them 2 steel braid lines, so definitely worth the money, and it probably lasts a lot longer than these rubbers will. So, plus, you know, rubber will break down over time, and you might have a soft pedal, or, you know, something could happen, stuck brake caliper, and you don't want that. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get my impact gun in here, get these 4 bolts broke free. I do have a floor jack underneath the axle holding it so it doesn't fall down on the ground, you know, when this does come loose. The shocks won't let it come down any further anyway until I remove them, but I'm afraid I'm gonna have to remove them first to get enough play to bring the axle down to use my impact gun, because it's pretty close to the bump stop. So let's see what happens, and I'll report back here in just a second. All right, so you see I removed the shocks. That's a 3/4 bolt that holds them in. It's laying right there. Goes through them 2 with a spacer behind it. I went ahead and dropped the sway bar out. It's 5/8 on the top, 11/16 on the bottom. The back bolts on the sway bar are a pain in the butt. They don't give you no room to get in there to hold them. I just used a regular ratchet, you see it sitting over there, and a shorty, and just kind of held it on there and used my little DeWalt impact gun. Them things are nifty to have. I mean, if you don't have one, get one. Especially if you're doing a lot of these little odd jobs. I mean, they're not, I wouldn't say they're super strong enough to break lug nuts free. I mean, I have used them to take lug nuts loose. They will come loose, but they're just a good all-around tool to have, especially if you're doing this kind of stuff. So, as you see, we gained a lot of room right there on the U-bolts. So hopefully I can get my air gun in there. So let me see, these bolts will come free. I do have one already removed right there. So let me get these other 3 out, and let's see what happens. I still have my floor jack supporting under the axle, so let's see what happens. All right, I was able to get one out, but I still don't have enough room for the back to the frame with my impact gun and my deep well extension, or my deep well socket. So I thought about it, and I said, well, I'm gonna go ahead and try to loosen the rear shackle and loosen the front shackle. Sorry for the lighting. Up front, keep my jack supported underneath the axle, and just let it down, and then I can proceed to take the other 2 out, and it'll give me more room to work with it. So I believe they are 13/16. Nope, I made a liar out of myself. I know they're not 5/8. I know they're not that. I don't believe. No. Let me go find a 3/4 socket and see if that'll fit it. I don't know if it will or not. It's 3/4. Nope. Must be a different size. Well, let me figure out what it is, and I'll tell you when I find it here in a second. All right, as you see, I went ahead and just pulled the back bolt out of the rear shackle. I left the front one in, just took the nut loose. They were 7/8 on the nut side, and they were 13/16 on the inside on the bolt. So that'll help you when you know what size bolts here. I'll try to tell you everything that I know, because a lot of people will show you these videos and they don't tell you, well, it's this size bolt. I mean, everything can be changed out or been switched in the past. So, but as you see, it got me down that much slower to where I could remove the 4 nuts that hold the leaf spring to the axle. So now I can go ahead and remove that plate off the top, and I can go ahead and pull that bolt out and actually remove that leaf spring. But I think before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and pull my brake caliper off and suspend it up, because my line is really tight. So I am replacing it, so don't worry. I figure I'll just pull it off, leave the caliper up. It'll be one of the last things I do on this side before I go to the other side, is change that line. Just trying to save myself from having a big brake fluid mess here on the ground where I'm working at. So let me go ahead and figure out what size Allen bolts these are on the back sides, and it's just 1 bolt there, 1 bolt there on the inside, and just stick you something inside right there to loosen the tension on the caliper, or on the piston in the caliper, and pull it off. So let me get that off, and I'll go ahead and pull that bolt out of the front and take my hammer and push down them U-bolts and remove that spring. All right, as you see, I went ahead and just took a pair of vice grips and put it on the rubber line. Don't advise to do that if you're doing a brake job, you know, not unless you're gonna replace that line. Just to get it out of my way so it won't be one less thing to haggle over. Let's see, they're 3/8 hex for the bolts that hold the brake caliper on. Like I said, there's one on top, one on the bottom. The bolt on the back of the brake caliper is 7/16. Just note to yourself, always watch. There is copper washers. That's what seals this together. As you see, that copper washer still on there. It looks like the other one is possibly still on the nut because it's not on the back. Yep, you can still barely see it right there on the inside. We'll replace them. I think the lines came with new ones, but right now we'll just leave that off and we will just tuck that up out of our way to go ahead and get a release spring out, because I'm hoping just to push our release spring, lay it back in there and put everything back together. So that's the plan. So we'll go ahead and pull that bolt out and we'll remove the release spring and we'll compare them here in just a second. I can tell just by looking at it, one looks like the other ones are 5-pack counts and these are only 2. Well, that's what makes up the lift difference too. So let me go ahead and pull it out of here and we'll do a little comparison on the two. We do have some stuff we have to install on the new release springs. It came with new bushings to go in it because they are, you can replace the bushings in them on the ends like them right there. These are factory pressed in, so they're a pain in the butt to change, but you can change them on your factory ones. There's a metal bushing in the middle. You got to press it out and 2 rubber ends will come out on each side to replace them. I'll show you on the new release spring how to install them, because both ends have to have them on this. They were supplied in the kit, but I guess the manufacturer of the spring just supplies them and doesn't install them, I guess because the chance of them falling out of the pin, because they are free floating in there pretty much. So we'll show you that here in just a second. All right, as you can see, there is a very tremendous difference in these springs. Plus one called being worn out. I don't know. There you go. Big difference versus a 2 count versus, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 5 count. As we were talking about the bushings, they go on each end of these. They go on each end, one on the left, one on the right, and a pin goes through the middle of them. As on that side as well. One side is larger and one side is smaller. The one on the larger side is the front one of the leaf spring, and the smaller one's obviously the back. Pretty much how I install them is I will actually take some BP blaster, grease, anything, rub around the outside edge right there and hammer them in on each end, on this end and that end, and do the same thing on that end and lay the spring on its side, lube up the pin and hammer it through until it's flush, till it touches the ground. So that's how I do them. So I'll pause here in a minute. Let me get my grease in here and everything, and I'll show you how I do it. I'm a one-man show, so I don't have a tripod or anything to where I can set up and do full-time video, you know. So I'm a new YouTuber. I'm just trying to make it. So, and I hope you all enjoy this, you know, detailed how-to on this. So, but we're getting there. I mean, I don't have nothing fancy. You see, I mean, basic hand tools. I mean, I don't have any high-dollar tools at all. So, I mean, anybody can do this in their driveway in a weekend very easily. This ain't been so hard yet, knock on wood. Everything's come pretty free. This is a big note to self too. On the passenger side, the U-bolt that's longer actually needs to be longer than it goes on the inside of the U-bolt, and the other one's on the outside. So pretty much it goes around the housing, so it's got to be longer to reach to the top. So the kit did come with one that is longer, so I will be using it. So just note to self on that when you go to reinstall, which I will show you that once I get the leaf spring in there. But let me get set up. Let me get these things greased up and pushed in these holes. I mean, they don't really go in really hard. So, but I'll show you how I do it. All right, so I've already installed them on the bottom side, and that's laid it on its side. And you just pretty much take the bushing. I did use some BP Blaster on it, soak the inside and the outside. Pretty much just push them in. There's really not much to them. Just push them in. Now, the pins, you can see that one just went in my hand. Very simple. I got something on my hand, so I'm just gonna rub it around. Push it in, and there you go. You got a built front leaf spring with brand new bushings in it. So, next step is to wrestle it in the truck and try to get it lined up. So, let me get it set in there, and I'll come back and I'll show you about the U-bolts again on the front, because you gotta fight the sway bar and everything to get it up, to get that leaf spring in there. Mine still had the little plastic tabs that go on the top and the bottom of the pads, so I plan on reusing them. So just cuts down on any squeaks or anything like that. So, but I'm gonna reuse them because it's still there. So let me go ahead and get it in here and see how much I got to jack this thing up to get it to fit. But I'll be right back with you. All right, as you see, I got the leaf spring wiggled up in there. The angle that the axle's at is making it hard to get it centered on the dowel pin, because it's, you know, sitting at an angle because of that tire being on there over there. So I think what I'm about to do is jack it up and push it over to get it lined up in the pin. But I ran into a problem, and I don't know if y'all will too or not, but the bolt for the rear spring hanger right there in the back, right there, that one you see that's missing a bolt in the back, we installed that sleeve in there, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why that bolt wouldn't go in there. And here to find out that the bolt is actually, well, if I can hang on to it, the bolt is actually the same size as the sleeve. It won't go in there. I was sitting there couldn't put myself around until I crawled in there and actually looked. So I guess I'm going to trip to the good old Riley's and get me 2 bolts, because I know the other side's gonna be the same problem. The front one fit fine. That's what's weird. So it doesn't say nothing in the instructions about having to, it just says use factory hardware. So, well, my factory hardware don't fit. So, all right, well, let me run to the O'Reilly's and get me some new bolts. Hopefully they got a shoulder bolt big enough so I can get back here and at least finish up this side and start working on the other side. Note to self, if I do it again, if I ever did another one of these kits, that sway bar right there is a pain in the butt to hold up and try to wiggle that spring in there. I'd try to have a friend come over and help you hold that up, you know, out of the way to slide that spring in there, because it fights you because it's so heavy and awkward, you know, so it's still attached on the other side. If you had the whole car jacked up and you did, you know, the whole front, I'd say there'd probably be no problem with it. So, but all right, well, I'll be back here in a minute. It'll be a second for y'all, but it'll be a few minutes for me. All right, guys, welcome back. Sorry, it's been a couple hours. I was on the search like crazy for them bolts, and I had no luck. So I figured I'd give Rough Country a call and see what they tell me. I mean, I didn't know, there's nothing in the instructions saying there's 2 different sizes or nothing. So I reached out to them, explained to what my problem was. They were very helpful. Technical support was great. They told me to advise me to look in other boxes. There might be some different bushings and dang sure there was. So I jumped to conclusions, thought I had the wrong thing, and that's what I get for jumping along too quick, trying to speed this along and get it done. But hey, it was great technical support. They helped me out, told me where it was at. So when you get this kit, open up every box, even though you don't think nothing will be in that box that you'll need at that minute. It very well could be. So that the rear has 2 different size bushing options and sleeves for different bolts for different applications. So like I said, technical support was great, got taken care of. As you see, I do have my U-bolts on right now. As you see, that longer one I was talking about in in the video. It goes up over that little hump right there on the right beside the differential cover. So that's why it is definitely longer, as you see in them two. Not much, but just enough to make a difference. So I got them all snugged down. I got my bolts in. Now I did have to use a ratchet strap to pull my axle forward to get the pin to line up, because I'm on such a hard angle where this was down and the other side's, you know, still has the tire and everything on it, as you see over there. So if you're doing this like I am, one side at a time, get your ratchet strap, because the axle is going to want to pull back. So you got to move it back forward to line that pin back up to get everything lined up in there. So just a little quick tip to help you on that end. So we're going to go ahead and tighten down that bolt and that bolt up there. Go ahead and take my strap out of there now, since it's all back in its location. You see the sway bar still sitting there where it needs to be, and we'll see how that relocator kit works on that. So gonna get these shocks taken off. It looks like I gotta pull that little piece of rubber panel out with some clips in it to get to that bolt that's like up in here. So might be holding off on the shocks. I was talking to the technical support guy, and I'm afraid my guy that sold me the lift kit might have got me the wrong shocks for my quad shock application. So we'll see about that, but that ain't gonna stop us from proceeding on. So it's starting to get pretty late out here in the shop, and I ain't got great lighting, so it might not be uploaded today. It might be tomorrow. So at least I can show you the other side too, and the finished product. So at least how big it is and what it'll look like and everything. So I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching. All right, so I saved you the expense. I put the leaf spring back in it. It fought me pretty good. Word of advice to anybody who's going to do this kit: don't do it one side at a time. It just fights you like crazy. If I was going to do this again and I would have known this, I would have jacked the whole front of the vehicle up, you know, got me some I-beams, whatever, blocks, held the frame up high, let the axle droop way low, you know, built the whole front end and raised it up, you know, to put the tires on it. Doing it like this on one side at a time, it constantly fights you. The geometry of the axle, it wants to slide back, you know, it's not worth it. So take it from me, of my experience of doing this, and now you gotta realize I'm doing this by myself. So, but I would definitely jack the whole front end up. I do the same thing for the rear. Just jack both sides up, fully suspend it, you know, have you a good floor jack, pick up the differential, do one side at a time that way, you know. Then when you're done, when you fully got all these springs back under it, you know, then proceed to put your tires on. But I catch myself getting too excited and want to see what it looks like at the end. So that's my own fault, but anyway. But moving on, I was going to show you the difference in, sorry for my camera work, the difference in the height, how much that thing from being flat up, the way that one's sitting flat. It's a big difference. That compensates your steering, so you don't have to do any more modifications on your steering. Really nice piece. Looks heavy built, just as good as OEM. So we're gonna go ahead and get it installed. Like I said, it just sits back on them 3 studs. Put your 3 cones back in there. They supply you new nuts. I'd advise you use the new nuts. If you got them, use them. So let's get that put back on there. Get the dragon link, or the steering link, hooked back up, and probably try to work on some shocks and some brake lines, but I'll show you that next. All right, as you see, I went ahead and pulled this off before I did anything else, just to see how bad it's going to be, because I figure it's going to be the worst part of the job. As you see, these things are tapered to fit in these holes. They're coned to lock it down tight on these 3 studs. So good thing I had them take them bolts loose and spray them down for me. I smacked the end of it right here where it hooks up to the steering leads with a hammer to kind of make it flex, and it pushed them right out. So got extremely lucky on that. The size of them nuts, they're right there, were 7/8. So as you see, it come right off. Took the lock nut off and the nut off the steering shaft, and it came right off. So, all right, we're gonna proceed to getting the bolt out for the shocks and loosening both shackles on the end. So, hang with me. All right, guys, welcome back. We're here the next day. You see, I threw the tire on this side to kind of give me an idea what it was going to look like. Still haven't put the shocks or the brake extension lines on yet on this side. My main goal was just to get the leaf springs up under it tonight. I'm going to switch over to the other side now and do the leaf springs on that side as well. Then I'll come back to do the shocks. I'll probably start on the shocks on the other side, kind of work my way back around. So that's the plan as of right now. So let's walk over here. There's a couple more steps to do on this side than there is on the other side. So just want to show you what. On this side, you got your steering shaft that comes off your box down. You have to replace this piece that the kit supplies in there. Everything I've read online, YouTube, and myself says these 3 bolts have like a cone shape underneath them, and they are a pain in the butt to get out. So when I had the shop do the ball joints in it, I had them loosen these bolts up and soak them when they did the ball joints in it, just to try to help me out. So hopefully they'll come out a little easier. So we're gonna repeat the same thing on this side. We're gonna go ahead and pull. I done took the nut off, the 3/4 nut right there off. I'm gonna push that out, get my shocks free. Use my hex bit, pull my brake caliper off. Probably crimp this line as well. Get that out of the way. Support the axle with a floor jack. And remove my 4 bolts around that once I get one side loose, either that shackle side or the front side up here, and let it set back down so where it can help me get them 4 bolts out. Ain't gonna mess with the steering shaft yet or the dual steering stabilizer yet. I just want to get it sitting on its wheels and try to get some shocks put on it today. That's my goal. I'm gonna have a bunch of little things to do, but I don't want to make this video super long on this. I just want it to be more, you know, how to, and show you the final results to where I can drive it outside so you can actually see how big it really is going to be. So I'm not going to bore you with removing the leaf spring. When I get to this step, I'll come back in on the video. I'll show you how much pain in the butt it's going to be or what I'm dealing with on it. So stick tuned for that here in just a second. All right, so got our 3 new nuts on. You see the little wedges recessed down into the piece. And your steering linkage from your gearbox off your pitman arm comes down and gets reinstalled. Mine's at an angle, so I got to turn the steering wheel just a little bit, but it'll drop right down in there. So I'm gonna probably put mine on loose. This is a good time to check for play, because 9 times out of 10 they are worn. As you see, mine, the boot's hanging out. It's got a lot of play in it, so I did order a new Moog Problem Solver. I put Moog Problem Solver ball joints in these things. Moog makes some great stuff. I mean, I highly recommend it. Not sponsored by no means, but I really like their products. You know, I've helped a couple of my buddies with some lift kits and, you know, ball joints, and, you know, and they always ask me, hey, Brandon, what are you going to use for ball joints, or what do you recommend? I mean, Moog's my #1 go-to. I mean, you run these heavy tires and these big tires, I always have good life out of them, you know. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of strain on ball joints, but that is your weakest link, in my opinion, is the ball joint. So, but anyway, all right. So I think next what we're going to do is we'll probably, I guess, jack it up and get it back up in the air and see what we're going to work on next. I don't like bending over that far. It's almost on the ground. It's just sitting on that little floor jack. So probably raise it back up, get me some line wrenches. There's a little clip that goes behind that bracket right there, and that's where your line will attach. I'll show you my new braided lines here in a second. And we still need to remove the shocks. So like I said previously, I ordered the wrong auxiliary shock on the quad shock setup, so I'm gonna have to send them back and wait on them. So I might do the front shocks at the same time. I don't know yet. I'm just trying to get this thing up and moving in case I need to bring something else in the shop to work on. So let's get it jacked back up and see if we can't fix some brake lines. Well, I ran into some other problems. I wanted to get into doing them brake lines, and here to find out them brake lines are wrong. So I went ahead and pulled it outside, I just put a couple lug nuts on the front tires to pull it out because I don't have my brake calipers on the front, and just got vice grip holding them lines shut, you know, so they don't leak. But I want to give you guys a look at it. I want to get this video up for you so y'all could really see how it looks. I think it turned out damn amazing. I mean, I'm tickled to death with it. Looks like a whole different truck. We will have some more videos on it. Like I said, I still got the dual steering stabilizer to put on it. I got the sway bar relocation kit to go on it. What's kind of holding me up from doing that right now is the bushings that are in the sway bars are bad. I had to order them. They won't be until tomorrow. I had to reorder my brake lines, so that'll be a few days out. So I said, well, if I'm gonna do that, I'm just gonna order new brake calipers. Like I said, this is gonna be my wife's daily driver. She wants to drive it to the coast to put it on the beach and stuff like that. You know, she wants to drive it. She wants to enjoy it. So I'm trying to make sure it's right the best I can. You know, I don't want, you know, this thing's been sitting a while, so I don't want the brake calipers to start sticking on it and stuff like that, you know. Like I saved myself a little time and a tow bill now, it's well worth it. So, but I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like I said, I worked really hard to try to give you as much detail and inside information I could of installing this rough country 4-inch lift. To me, the truck sits a lot higher than 4 inches. In the next video, I will actually get out the tape measure and measure it. But it damn sure looks good though, and I'm really happy with it. So if you would, smash the thumbs up if you like it. Smash the thumbs down if you don't. I totally understand. Subscribe. There'll be a lot more of this kind of content. There's a lot more to still go on this truck. So, but I will definitely, we gotta go back to the muffler shop for one. So, I mean, there'll be a few more videos on it, hopefully. And the next big thing will be getting it painted. You know, that'll be down the road a little bit. But please comment, like, subscribe. Like I said, we're over 200 subscribers. I'm new to this. I'm a one-man show. I'm doing this off my phone, so just bear with me on the quality and, you know, what you see. So I'm trying to make the best of it and keep getting better as I do every video. So till next time, we'll catch you all on the next one.